If you're new to Sailing Melody or you've missed a few episodes, I'll quickly explain what's going on. We moved aboard Ocean Melody back last July and have been living aboard ever since. Throughout the summer and autumn I've been working mostly on building a new cockpit enclosure and also working on Steel Melody. But a friend of ours has become very sick, so we're temporarily house and dog sitting for them, which has given us the opportunity to do a little bit of a light refit on the interior of Ocean Melody. Particularly doing things like the sole boards and woodwork, which means lots of dust, epoxy, paint and varnish, all things we couldn't do with 2 children sleeping on the boat. So although we're very worried about our friend, the opportunity has been a help to us, as we make Ocean Melody ready to leave in the spring and head off on our long journey. But as much as we look forward to setting sail, we can't help but reflect on just how beautiful Wales is. We're so lucky to be based where we are. It's a rugged and harsh country famous for mountains and dragons, but on a still morning like today, it's just stunning. Okie dokie, I'm dressed like a big white Teletubby again. As you've just seen, I've been repairing these floorboards and kind of fettling them and making them fit properly, making sure that they're all screwed down and level, filling any little dimples and divots. These floorboards are never going to be like new, and I like that. I like that. I like the fact that they've got some history and some battle scars, and you know, there's a story behind this timber. So I'm not trying to get them to be absolutely perfect, but I want them to be safe, of course. So my next job, now that they're all screwed down and they're all repaired, there's one standing up there that's just gluing, I need to sand them. And I have now brought with me a decent shop vac, because the last time I was here I was using the battery shop vac and it was terrible. It's fine for about 5 minutes, and then as soon as the voltage starts to just peter off, it's like, nah, that's no good. So I'm going to put my PPE on. I'm going to get the amazing Merkur sander that Jonathan's lent me. Thanks, mate. And I'm going to start sanding. Okay, so all the sanding of the floors is done. There's still another couple of places that I found that I need to repair, so I'm going to have to do them tomorrow because it's too dark again to epoxy tonight. There's just another couple of places as I was sanding, I thought, oh no, I've got to fix that before I can actually epoxy it. So that's going to have to wait till tomorrow. But what I want to do before I go home tonight is paint the deck head, because we've got some insulation coming. One of our wonderful, wonderful followers, perhaps it was you, thank you so much if it was you, sent us some money through coffee to get some insulation to put up under the ceiling. So that should arrive in the next couple of days, but of course being Christmas delivery times it might take a bit longer. But I want to paint this deck head out just so that it's fresher behind there again, and that this joist needs sticking back up. So I'm going to whack some paint on there really quickly before I go, and behind these seats and stuff as well, so that when we come to reassemble it all, that paint's had plenty of time to harden off and cure. But yeah, to the person who sent us the money for the insulation, I'll put your name on the screen, because forgive me, my memory escapes me, but thank you so much. That means the absolute world to us. Right, let's get this painted. Well, it's the next morning and here I am again, and I'm definitely getting some epoxy on these floors today. There's the part in the aft heads, which I'm going to do on a separate day, and there's a little bit in the aft cabin just by the bulkhead, and I'm going to rebuild that area completely. But this epoxy is going to need several days to set, so it can cure over Christmas. So I'm going to get the epoxy on the saloon, the nav station, the companionway, or maybe not the companionway, maybe the companionway, the galley, the crawl through, and all of the aft cabin except the aft head and the little bit by the bulkhead. And that will mean that when I come back, I've got, you know, a good solid floor to work on. I think I'm probably going to need 2 coats, but we'll see about that. At least I can get the first coat done today, and then I'll pop back in a couple of days and see how well cured it is. But the first thing I've got to do, now that the dust has settled from all the sanding and stuff yesterday, is I've got to give the whole floor a good clean and make sure that there's no little bits of dust in any corners or anything like that. As I was saying earlier, there's a couple of places, and I'm going to do the sole boards in the head here separately because I want them to be a separate piece of construction anyway that can be pulled out. And at some point somebody's hacked that away there, and it's to gain access to the prop shaft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to epoxy everything but, well, I'll probably epoxy those pieces as well because it can't hurt, but I'm going to make a piece to go in there separately, and I'll have to buy some timber for that. But I'm not going to delay what I'm doing today for the sake of that little bit. We're ready now. We're hoovered, vacuumed, hoovered if you're English, vacuumed if you're American, and I'm going to give the floor a wipe down with some panel wipe. Panel wipe is basically thinners, but it's I think it is anyway, but it's basically just a solvent that you can use that just gets rid of any little specks of grease or anything like that before you paint a surface. So it's not desperately effective on wood, bare wood, because it'll just soak in very quickly and it evaporates very quickly. But for the sake of 5 minutes wiping it over with a cloth, I don't think it's a bad idea. And with a job like this that's in such poor kind of, we're not in a workshop, you know, we're not like Matt on Duracell project, we're not like the guys on Magic Carpet. I've many times said I'm no Aladino, and we're not in his situation, we're not in a workshop doing work, and I don't have his skill or knowledge, so I'm just doing the best job I can with the skill and knowledge I have. I think this part here for the companionway, I think I'm actually going to take it out, put it on a piece of plywood on one of the seats I painted yesterday. The paint's just still a bit tacky, but it'll be fine for that. And I think I'm going to epoxy it over there, because if I epoxy it here, I can't stand on it, can I? But I can stand in the bilge and jump up on the cabinet to get out of the boat later. There's also a couple of pieces here around the mast which I need to take out because of I don't want to get epoxy on the mast itself, or and I can't get around the back of the mast, so I'm going to do those separately, which is why I didn't put teak plugs on top of these screws, because for getting to the mast that would be make things difficult. There we are, there's one. That's got a blob of paint on it from yesterday doing the deck head. Oops. Here you go. That's nice. I can't wait to get started on all of the fronts of these bunks and the cupboard doors and all of that stuff. But having a floor to walk on is more important, and I can be doing that. Oh, there's some dust there. Hang on. I can be doing that while this lot's while the epoxy's drying. Well, I can be doing the cupboard doors in the workshop while the epoxy's drying. See what I mean about the battery on these things? They're Stanley Fatmax, and it's a fantastic Hoover vacuum, but the batteries don't last 5 minutes. Maybe they're just old and knackered and I need new ones. Right, next thing is mask off. It's not that critical, the masking, because I'm going to be sanding all of these skirting boards back anyway. So if I get a bit of epoxy on the skirting boards, it really doesn't matter, because they're going to get masked, they're going to get sanded off separately, and then I'll mask the floor when I sand them. So I'm not going crazy with the masking tape, just sort of areas where I think it needs it, sort of thing. I'm wondering whether this masking session is worth a musical montage, but there's been quite a bit of that in this episode already. I'm trying to get the balance right between talking too much, doing enough, and keeping the pace, and not too much musical montage please, and not so much talking please, and more talking while you're working please. And it's a hard life, you know, being a YouTuber. I will say we're blown away by the level of love and support we get. Occasionally we get like really horrible comments on YouTube telling us we're all stupid and ugly and wrong and everything else. But for the most part, you guys, and I'd say when I say the most part, I mean like 99.999% of people are just truly lovely, and I'm sure you're one of them. So thank you for all of your lovely comments. We do live to receive them, and we do try and answer them. We can't always, because we're so busy with work. But what tends to happen, guys, is when the video goes live, what tends to happen is Melissa and I will sit down, like we've got a video going live at 6 o'clock this evening, and unless we've got guests around for dinner or something, when the video goes live, we'll just basically spend the rest of that evening answering messages and replying to people. So you'll generally see, if you leave a message, or a comment rather, in the first sort of couple of hours, first few hours of the video going live, you're more likely to get a direct personalised response. And then what happens after that is I'll leave it a couple of days and come back to answer more messages when I've got time. But by which time I'm normally stuck into filming stuff for the next episode. So that's kind of how it works on the comment side of things. But it doesn't mean that we don't appreciate them. And very often what I'll be doing is reading them. You know, I don't know, if I've got a doctor's appointment or something like that, I'll sit and read and reply to a few messages. So please don't be offended if we can't always reply to every single message, especially if you've left it a long time later. But we do try. We genuinely do try, and we genuinely do enjoy them. And on the subscriber thing, everyone, all these YouTubers say, oh, subscribe because it really helps the channel. And it does. You might not think it does, but I don't know if you know how it works. You probably do. But all you've got to do to subscribe to a channel on YouTube is make an account, which just means so that they know who you are. So register yourself, click on the sign in button and sign in with your email address. And then you click the little subscribe button and you click the notification bell, bottom corner of the screen. And what that does is it tells YouTube's brain that people are subscribing to our channel and wanting to know when the next episode is, which the YouTube brain then considers that to be, oh, this must be a popular channel that people are enjoying. And then that actually causes it to boost our next video. So if we get like right now, if a load of you clicked, like if 200 of you clicked subscribe, our next video would get a really big boost because YouTube would go, oh, people are obviously enjoying this. And then the other thing is, you know, we do these reviews, which helps make a little bit of money for the channel. So what happens with that is, if you're sort of wondering how that works, every now and then a company will approach us and say, and this is what happens with all YouTube channels, they say, oh, we've got this thing we'd like you to promote, whether it's a health drink or some piece of equipment. And we normally kind of assess that and decide, is it something that we are comfortable to promote as a channel? You know, is it something that we think, yes, that's something that kind of ties in with what we do? And, you know, when it's something like a lithium power bank or an electric bike or a phone or something like that, a waterproof, rugged phone, something that kind of ties in, or something that promotes healthy lifestyle or anything like that, we normally go, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. And they pay us a relatively small amount of money to promote that, and then they probably normally give us the item to test, and then we can keep it, which you think, well, okay, yeah, that's fair enough, we'll do that. Like, for example, do you remember I did that review of the HUUUUUUUGE rugged phone a few weeks ago, and I wasn't terribly impressed with the video quality? Well, and I said at the time, they're going to send us another one, which is the upgraded, the V30 Pro. So the new one, the V30 Pro, which apparently has got a much better camera, and we're testing it at the moment, that comes out in January, as I say, and we've got it at the moment, and they've sent me a promo video that they want me to share with you guys, which just shows the specs, and then we'll talk about our experience with it when we see it in January. So the promo video is up in the corner of the screen in a few seconds for you to have a look at while I finish masking this off. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, there. Right, we're finally in a position to start mixing this epoxy. It's going to be really interesting trying to film this, because I've got to try and position the camera so that you can see what I'm doing, and paint the whole floor, which is what I'm standing on. I'm standing on these joists at the minute. I've taken out the ones from the galley as well, because they kind of tuck underneath the work surface, so I want to paint them before, coat them before I put them back in. But yeah, filming this is likely to be a little tricky, but see how I get on. Should be doing it by weight, not by volume. I'm getting there. I've just got to make sure I've got all the epoxy off my hands before I pick the camera up, and I don't want to be dropping dust in the fresh epoxy. Oh, it's just physically so hard, this, because my back and my knees are killing me, but I'm getting there. Flipping heck. I apologise if I've got a builder's bum, but if I hitch my trousers up now, I'm going to get epoxy on my underpants, so it's not happening. Because I'm having to mix pots, it's quite difficult to maintain a wet edge, and by that I mean the edge of the paint, sorry, the edge of the epoxy is starting to go off very, very slightly by the time I come back with a new pot. So I'm trying to paint within panels so that if I've got a hard edge, it's not so much of a problem. But inevitably there are a few places where I haven't managed to maintain a wet edge as well as I'd like, and by the time I've come back with the pot, there's just a very faint line, a very faint visible, there's some evidence of that. And it's kind of evidence of poor craftsmanship at work. But I mean, the better way of doing this is to have one person mixing and one person painting, so that you never, oh, there's a bit of mist there as well, so that you're never having that problem. You can just paint continuously or varnish continuously, but can't do that. Done. I'm going to have a little tidy up before I pick you up and show you round. But I've done, I just need to make sure I'm like clean and everything, and I've tidied everything before I take these gloves off, and I don't want to do too much with the camera until my hands are clean. Right, look at that. I'm going to show you now. But I went through one pair of gloves, because it's all I had on the boat, one pair of gloves and one paintbrush. People often ask, why do we use such a small paintbrush? I buy these really cheap paintbrushes from the hardware store, and I just bin them. And for a job like this, one small paintbrush is absolutely fine. You can get into small corners, you can be a little bit more delicate with it. And I think if you're doing a massive area and you want to lather it on, but also if you're using pots, you know, if you're using a pot like this, a big paintbrush doesn't get to the bottom of it. So that's why I use small paintbrushes. To answer your question, have a look at this. This is what I've achieved. Right, so there's the panels for the galley, and for the ones around the mast, there's more galley panels. Here's the saloon itself. It's looking stunning. It's going to need another coat, I'm sure, but that's fine. First coat is absolutely fine. That is the companionway hatch, which lifts up. A lot of these panels, you noticed earlier, this one here, all of these panels basically lift out so that I can get access to the bilge. Same here, this panel here, that one's screwed down, and the one at the end screwed down, but the three in the middle lift out as a continuous, as a complete panel. Same in the companionway and into the aft cabin. I can't wait to get started on the, you know, the ceilings, the walls, as it were. Because the problem is, of course, all of this lot now, the grab handles and the walls, the ceilings, as they're correctly called on a boat, now look bloody awful compared to the floor. Right, I'm going to finish the episode there because I can't do anything else, because I'm literally standing in the only spot where I can now stand. I've got to try and climb out through there. I've got the companionway steps with me, so I'm going to take them back and see if I can do some work on them. There's loads of work still to do on the slats for the deck head. I've got to come back with the insulation and do the deck head insulation. I want to install some new wiring for the new lights and some speakers. I've got some speakers to put in. But all of that will be coming up next time, or perhaps the time after, who knows. There's probably going to be another coat of epoxy on the sole boards, unless I come back and they're like, fine. I'm considering whether or not to do a coat of varnish, and I've got my reasons for that. Partly because the varnish protects the epoxy from UV, although in here it's not going to get much UV exposure, so it shouldn't be necessary. But also the varnish will give a prettier finish and maybe be nicer to walk on, because I can use gym floor varnish. Who knows? I'm still researching that. All of that coming. For now though, thank you very, very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Got the soles down, it's done. Fantastic, really pleased. Leave us some comments, tell me what I did wrong, tell me what I did right, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. Subscribe, as I mentioned earlier. If you want to help support the channel, you can go to Patreon, as I've said before. Thanks very much to our patrons, who are on the screen here right now, going up. Like that. There you go. Thanks guys, love you all. This will be our last episode before Christmas, so I'd like to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas from all of us. We may actually do a kind of Christmas special Q&A. So that Ollie and Jack and Melissa can also say Happy Christmas to you all. Yeah, hopefully I'll get another episode shot this week, so there'll be another one out between Christmas and New Year. So don't go away. In the meantime, have a fantastic Christmas, guys, and a fantastic New Year, and see you all very soon. Bye bye.